Hey everyone, this is Melody from Holy Family, where we are striving to live holy, happy, and healthy. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about the joys and the struggles of having multiple children and being open to life. Basically, we don't practice any contraception. We don't practice any kind of natural family planning. We just allow God to bless us with as many little blessings, as he calls them, as he so wills. And with this, there are beautiful things that we are, basically accepting all of the gifts that God so wishes to give us, the good and the bad that come along with it. And I personally have the struggle of having really difficult pregnancies, so it's not always easy, like, oh yeah, she could probably do that because she has easy pregnancies. But no, that's not true. I don't have easy pregnancies. As a matter of fact, I have really difficult pregnancies where I'm constantly sick and tired, and I'm not able to really tend to the rest of my family as I normally would. So there's a lot of struggles in that stage. And then the labor, I've had different experiences. I've had two emergency C-sections, and then I had a VBAC at the hospital with a hospital midwife, which was okay, but I had back pain after that for quite a while. And then I had my 2 home births, which were awesome. Today I wanted to talk about after the labor and the babies arrive, you know what I mean, one at a time, of course, unless you have twins. They are precious and it's such a joy. You have this little baby after like 9 to 10 months of agony, depending on how your pregnancy goes, because some women have like awesome pregnancies and I'm just like a little jealous of them, but that's okay. So the baby's here, and that's great, and there's preciousness to that, and you just automatically, at least for most women, love the baby, you know what I mean? You connect with the baby, especially when you're breastfeeding and you have a natural birth. It just gives you that natural connection because of all the hormones and things like that. And then reality sinks in after maybe a few days of the baby being quiet and calm, and now next thing you know is the baby's crying and you don't know what to do. And especially if you're a first-time mom, that's especially when that happens, that you don't really know what to do and what's wrong with the baby. And then even if you have multiple children, you still have the struggle of having to take care of this baby all day, all night, and then still somehow manage the rest of your house. And I think that sometimes when you only have one child, or maybe 2, or maybe none, you don't realize all that goes into it. And now that we have 5, I think that I'm feeling more of the weight of having the multiple children, which started probably when I had my 4th, because my 1st and my 2nd and my 3rd, it was actually not too bad, I could handle it. I was still keeping my house hold in order, and now after the 4th and now with the 5th, I'm really feeling having multiple children, and it's like the joy of seeing them grow every day, wake up every day, saying good morning with them, and teaching them their morning prayers, and being able to homeschool them, or if you don't homeschool, then I guess just being able to send them off to school, those type of things. That's beautiful. And for me personally, I love homeschooling. I absolutely love organizing the homeschooling. I love us doing the routine of homeschooling. I just absolutely love it. Yeah, just seeing them go through the stages of, from talking, well, first is walking, and their little teeth coming in, and let's see, so walking, teeth, talking, all these little stages, you know what I mean? And then now I have my oldest who's 8, and I just see him in his stage that he's in, and it's just, I love it. You know, he's reading books, and he loves listening to things, where my other little ones are still all like playing more. And just seeing them grow up is it's like I wouldn't want to not have children, you know, and I'm so grateful for that. But there are a lot of struggles that come along with it, and some of the struggles, I know the biggest one I could say is that there's never a dull moment, which could be a good thing and a bad thing, I guess, because, you know, I would rather have like something going on rather than be idle around the house, you know. And I know that before I had children, that was kind of the case, and I would constantly clean up my house and cook, and you know, I was involved in my youth ministry, but nonetheless there was a lot of idleness because I didn't have little ones running around. And so that's a good thing that I have no idleness, but it's also difficult because then I don't have any me time, any quiet time. You know, I have to wake up really early, which I love to do, but it's not always so easy. So that's one of the struggles, is that there's always, you know, busyness. And then I personally, I know some women are a little bit better with this, but I find it so hard with multiple children to keep my house clean. I really do. It's like I'm constantly picking up, sweeping, you know, doing dishes. I don't use a dishwasher, which I know some people might say, well, that would help. I just don't personally like to use too much technology, let's say, to alleviate work. But anyway, so the struggle is constantly, you know, keeping the house clean is hard. So I have the older children, and then I have two younger children, the baby and a toddler. And the baby and toddler need me in a lot of different ways than the older children do. Like, the older children can be a lot more independent, but because I have to do the homeschooling, the cooking, the cleaning, the washing, and everything else, plus give them some attention, like playing board games, reading books. But the little ones want me to carry them and need me to feed them, and so I find that really hard to balance. And I'm not always able to give my little ones the same attention that I probably gave my older ones when they were little, like that. And so that's a little bit hard. I try to take time out, maybe well, each day. Sometimes I'm forced to, like, you know, to just stop. But, you know, like, for an example, when my oldest was a baby, I would just stop. I'd be like, oh well, he's a baby, he needs me, you know what I mean? And so I was like, I could remember rocking him like all the time, you know. And then even when my second one came along, and even with my third, but then with my fourth, it's like very hard. And now with the fifth, it's even harder to balance that time. So that's a little bit of a struggle that I personally face, and I'm assuming other mothers face that have multiple children, is just because then if you just stop everything, then nothing gets done because they always constantly need you. You know, and then you might have like an hour or two of like nap time a day, but that's realistically not enough time to get everything done. And also I need rest each day. Like, some women can keep going, but I personally need like an hour in the middle of the day to just breathe, you know what I mean? Let me lay back. If I'm tired, let me read a book, whatever it might be, you know. And so it's hard to balance, you know, the time for the older ones and the little ones, and then your own time, and then time with your husband. Like, me and my husband don't actually really have quality time very often, to be honest. It's like very rare, you know. Our most quality time is probably when we go grocery shopping, because he still goes with me, and, you know, the children everywhere, which is I'm grateful for. But yeah, it's hard to balance time. I would say that is the second most difficult, but right behind keeping the house clean and in order, which I was always like a neat freak, and like I always wanted my house to be clean. Take off your shoes, you know. We still practice it, but it's not 100% as it was before, you know. So I might say the rule is take off your shoes, but then at the end of the day, I find, you know, a track of dirt and whatever else they bring in from outside, you know. So it doesn't stay as clean as I I would not just like it to be, but ideally that it should be, because I believe in cleanliness is next to godliness. It really totally makes sense, because whenever the house does get crazy, I find that my stress levels are higher, and it really goes to everybody else. And I'm like, I live very simply. It's not like we have crazy amount of clothes or toys, or I guess the crazy amount of stuff we do have are books, because I love books. But it just still gets crazy even with not having that many things. Although there are all these struggles in having multiple children, I still believe that it is of the utmost importance to be open to whatever God wants to give you, because these children, at the end of the day, it's like a mirror, and I get to see my good and my bad, and it helps me in my spiritual life, in my life, you know, and seeing where I lack, what are my weaknesses. It really does, because honestly, before children, you kind of think that you're pretty good, you know what I mean? Like, and then when you start having children and really are just open to God's design and God's will for your life, it really molds you in the way that you need to be molded. You know, there's a prayer, it's called the Litany of Humility, that I pray. It's in the Pietà, that I may become as holy as I should. That's the ending prayer. And that's basically what our crosses do for us, you know. Some people have heavier crosses. Maybe God wants them to be on a higher level of holiness, you know, or maybe they need a lot more work to get even to the lowest level of holiness, you know what I mean? So it's like we have to, which is not, I'm not saying is easy, but we have to really work on our I guess, you know, embracing of our crosses, because essentially it will mold us. And so having multiple children really has helped to mold me and face ourselves, our good and our bad, so we can strengthen our strengths, or even be humble in our strengths, you know, and strengthen our weaknesses. So yeah, those are my joys and sufferings with multiple children. Maybe some of you have similar experiences, and maybe some of you don't. So I'd love to hear about them. Comment below. Thanks for watching. God bless, and make sure to like and subscribe.